Okay, here we are in day 5 of the global study of Maimonides in memory of my father. This is one of my favorite sections of the book. We're going to do two halachos, two different sections. The first one is like this. Umahi Teshuvah. What exactly is Teshuvah, right? Maimonides he's referred to Teshuvah in so many different ways and so many different times, and will continue to do so, but let's work with the definitions as they occur. He continues. Teshuvah is when a person abandons sin, banishes it from thought, and resolves in his heart never to commit this act again. As it is written, the wicked will abandon his way, and the sinner his thoughts. He will also regret his past, that is, as it is written, and this is in Jeremiah, for after I did Teshuvah, I felt regret, and after I gained knowledge, I slapped my thigh. The one who knows all secrets will testify that he will not ever return to this sin, as it is written, and we will no longer call the work of our hands our God. The sinner must articulate the resolutions of his heart with an oral confession. Now, there's a lot of depth in this. I pulled some of it out in my commentary, the written commentary, but the reality is that most of the analyses of tshuva, of repentance in Jewish thought, go through a couple of stages. Regret first, and Rabbeinu Yonah, a medieval thinker, actually lists 20 different levels of regret. Wow, talk about guilt, right? So there are different ways in which one can feel regret. Followed by confession, followed by abandonment of sin, azivat hachet, sometimes rendered as kabbalah la'atid, acceptance for the future, right? So regret, confession, resolution, let's say, resolution for the future. Maimonides seems to put these in the opposite order, which is interesting, but more than we want to talk about today. Let's look at the third halacha, which is one of my favorite passages. He's actually going to take something from the Talmud, but just the way he puts it down on paper here is so fantastic. A person who confesses with words, but does not resolve in his heart to abandon the sin, behold, he is like one who immerses in a mikvah while holding a lizard in his hand. Like, wow. If you're not familiar with some of the background on this is like just such a bizarre passage. What are we talking about here? Okay, it goes like this. So a mikvah is a kind of a ritual pool, a ritual bath. Lots of technical details about what constitutes this kind of purifying pool. It has to be, for example, what's called mayim chayim, living water, which means like rainwater or melted snow can never come into contact with defiling elements, including like metal in certain circumstances. So because metal is made into weaponry, so therefore that itself invalidates the mikvah. It has to be something that's like a natural pool. The ocean counts, large rivers, things like that. So a person would go into a mikvah if he or she wants to affect a dramatic transformation. Converts, for example, they go into the mikvah. They go in when they're still non-Jewish, and then when they come out, they are Jewish. Many people, people who write Sefer Torahs, for example, scribes, will go to the mikvah every morning in order to prepare themselves for the day's work. Many Hasidim go every day as a matter of course. There are all kinds of reasons why one would go, both men and women, to the mikvah. But one of the big things about the mikvah is that the water has to be able to touch every part of your body. You can't like wear a band-aid on your hand or something and go into the mikvah, because the water will not be able to penetrate under the adhesive strip of the band-aid. There has to be no chatzitza, no separation between the skin and the water. Secondly, what's this bit with the lizard? Well, that's my translation of the term sherets. Sherets can be one of 7 different defiling creatures, which can include rodents and certain kinds of bugs and things like that. So it's like the opposite of the purity, the tahara that occurs when one comes out of the mikvah, is associated with one of these dead sharatzim, one of these dead lizards or rodents or bugs or what have you. So here's a guy, he goes into the mikvah because he wants to achieve purity, he wants to transform himself, and at the same time he's in the water, he is holding on to that very thing that prevents him from effecting that transformation. It's like funny, it's like, hilarious. And this is exactly the metaphor here. If you want to do tshuva, but you don't actually regret what you've done, then it's like holding on to the lizard going into the mikvah. Nothing happens. You got to let go of the lizard first before you go into the mikvah, or you won't achieve anything. Similarly, you have to resolve not to repeat that behavior, or your tshuva means nothing. As he says explicitly here, the immersion will have no effect until he releases the lizard. Similarly, it is written, and one who confesses and abandons sin will receive mercy. He must also detail the sin, as it is written, please, the people sinned a great sin. They made for themselves a god of gold. This last passage is, of course, a quotation from Moses speaking to God on behalf of the Jewish people after the sin of the golden calf. And the reason why Maimonides uses that as a proof text is because, God did not have to be told what sin the Jews did, but Moses felt it necessary to specifically detail to God, yes, it was the golden calf thing that they did. In other words, that's an important part of confession. It's an important part of the entire Teshuvah process to articulate specifically what it is that you're doing wrong. Okay, I hope that's useful for you. I hope you have an excellent day. We'll speak tomorrow, God willing.